So a while ago, the quartering was arguing with some ordinary gamers about who is responsible for the violent crime increase in France. And the quartering was blaming the third world migrants that come from Muslim countries, and the Mutahar was saying that it isn't them. But this whole interaction ended with Mutahar literally just proving himself wrong and the quartering right. And at the time I didn't want to talk about this because I thought that whatever, it's like at this point this is a dead topic. Literally everyone in Europe knows that yeah, these third world migrants are responsible for all of this crime increase for the last like 8 years. But I recently saw a video from Vaush that covered this whole situation, and when I saw just how dishonest this f***ing guy is, I had to make this video to point it out.
Here's a simple chart of just how massively is increasing in France. Do you think it's the locals just suddenly deciding to up their number, or perhaps it's the tens of thousands of violent migrants pouring in? Wait, I like how the quartering's post right here implies that it's impossible for there to be any shift in crime within a demographic, even if there's no population change.
No, that's not what the quartering is saying. The quartering is literally asking you directly, what do you think is more likely? Do you think that the European locals just randomly decided to commit more of these crimes every single year since 2016? Or do you maybe think that this has something to do with the fact that for the last 8 years, there have been more and more third world Muslim migrants, the majority of whom are male, forcing their way into Europe? What do you think is more likely? But it doesn't matter what we think is more likely, because we have stats that tell us exactly who is responsible for the majority of these crimes from various European countries, and they all paint the exact same picture. And I am aware that in this conversation between the quartering and Mutahar, they were specifically talking about France crime increase and not Europe in general. And don't worry, we will get to who is responsible for this crime increase in France as well. And it's not gonna be me that's gonna tell you, it's gonna be Mutahar that's gonna tell you who is responsible for this crime increase in France.
Like, crime went up quite a bit back in 2020 during COVID in the United States. Our population barely changed. What do you mean?
Look at how dishonest this f***ing guy is. He literally has a graph right in front of him that tells him that recorded sexual offenses in France have been increasing since 2016 to 2023, and this retard talks about COVID. He blames COVID in 2016.
Now, prove this recorded instant course based smelly brown people. Nowhere in this data set does it separate by racial demographics. And I'm guessing from the 900 comments in reply, I'm guessing it's a bunch of people saying, yeah, it's obviously Muslims.
Okay then, so let's see. Let's see exactly who it is.
And then Mutahar says, it took 30 seconds to debunk your headline while I was running a round of siege. Again, this is the last word I have to say. Really don't want to continue clogging the TL with this nonsense, sorry. Despite making up roughly just 4% of the population, France's prisons are 70% Muslim. I wonder why that is. But it's not true. I emailed the professor who rejects the 70% figure altogether and says that he reckons a true figure is around half, 40 to 50%.
So they are 4% of France's total population, and yet they are 40 to 50% of the prison population. And pay close attention to how Vaush is gonna react to this information.
I emailed the professor who rejects the 70% figure altogether and says that he reckons a true figure is around half, 40 to 50%. But he stressed these are just estimates because the French government does not record these things. Okay, that said, all I was...
Yeah, that's all he has to say. He just says, okay, and moves on. He never acknowledges the numbers that he just read. For the rest of the video, he's just gonna ignore every single person that was under this Mutahar tweet, pointing out that 40 to 50% is insane for only 4% of the total population.
Your content is great, dude, but this is an L for you. What? L take, mate.
Look at how he doesn't read the tweet that is right above this one, the one that he's reading currently. Look at how he intentionally is ignoring the 40 to 50% stat that he just read out loud that Mutahar himself posted on Twitter. Look at how he is intentionally ignoring it. And I know exactly why he's ignoring it. He's ignoring it because if he acknowledges that The conviction rate for these people is so high, there is irrefutable evidence that these people are committing a lot of crime and a lot of problems in Europe. He has to ignore this stat because he has no counter arguments. It's literally impossible for him to defend his position that, oh, it's not migrants that are to blame for this crime increase for the last 10 years. No, it's something else. It's COVID. Yeah, it's COVID in 2016. He can't defend his position, so he has to ignore the facts that he just read. He has to ignore the evidence that he just read. And I do think it's very interesting that he just doesn't even try to give some explanation. He doesn't even say that, oh, it's because they're racist. It's because the French are just racist. That's why there's so many Muslims in prisons. And or at least say that, oh no, well, this stat, France doesn't keep track, so it's just made up, it's bullshit or whatever. He doesn't even say that. He says nothing. He says nothing. He just ignores it. Clearly, intentionally, he ignores it with absolutely no explanation. Zero explanation. And the funny thing is, Vaush was literally asking for convictions earlier in this video before he read this 40 to 50% number.
With regard to instances of sexual assault in public transportation or in the Ile-de-France region, non-French nationals accounted for 62%, with those from sub-Sahara Africa composing 23% of all foreigners accused of the offense. I'm sorry, are these all based on accusations? My assumption with these were convictions. Europeans love doing this. They always do this. Look, in October, a study commissioned and carried out by the Finnish government revealed that foreign-born residents were vastly overrated in cases of rape and child sex crime last year. Despite comprising less than 7% of Finland's total population, individuals from this cohort were found to have accounted for nearly 38% of the country's rape suspects in 2020. The Finnish study's finding mirrored data in a separate study published weeks earlier by the Swedish government, which showed that first-generation immigrants were nearly 3 times likely to be rape suspects. Like, dude, is it that hard to find conviction statistics? They always do this.
So it's like, he keeps saying, like, oh, it's suspects, it's suspects. It's like, bro, if there are so many suspects from this minority population in the country, it's like, you're really gonna tell me that means nothing? I hear what he's saying, but yeah, suspects isn't the same as convictions. But when the numbers of suspects are this high for such a small minority population, you cannot ignore that. You can't just say, oh, they're just nothing, they're just meaningless. It's clearly not meaningless. And as I said, he was demanding for convictions before he got that 40 to 50% prison population number that he is ignoring. Watching this video made me hate this guy so much more.
How do you reason with unreasonable? Well, like I said before, most of these anxieties that these commenters are expressing come from a place of sexual insecurity. You'll notice that they're basically all men, and all of them are coming at this from the perspective of, like, civilization is ending, 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 civilization is ending because of such and such. They frame these criticisms through stuff like grooming gangs and rape gangs, but they don't care about grooming because, again, they're anti-feminists. They don't believe in, like, the Me Too movement. On every structural level, they want to make things harder for victims.
Okay, so this last part, I am going to kinda agree. I have also seen a lot of conservative, anti-feminist type men talking about how women should have less rights and how their husband should be allowed to rape them. Even though they don't say that it's so. They say that, oh, because she's my wife, because she's the husband's property, oh, then it's not rape, then it's not rape. It's like, so yeah, he is true. There are these types of dudes do exist, but I am not one of these people. I am in full support of women's rights and freedoms, and I don't think that anyone should be allowed to force a woman to sleep with them. I don't care if she is your girlfriend or your wife, or if you paid for her a meal on the date. If she doesn't want to sleep with you, that's it, it's over. You don't force her, you don't pressure her, you don't threaten her. I don't want anyone to be forced to do anything, so yeah.
So what do they actually care about? What they care about is that they think that by now they should have been getting sloppy toppy from a blonde, pale woman with braids. And they're not. That's not happening to them right now. They aren't getting sloppy toppy from any woman, let alone a blonde white woman with braids. So that makes them feel bad right here. Feels like they've lost something important to them. and they want to go out blaming things. And
This dude's brain is completely fried by all of the lolly hentai where he masturbates to. This guy sees a horse, he gets aroused. This guy sees a child, he gets aroused. This guy sees a Muslim migrant, he gets aroused. Everything in this dude's brain just immediately goes to sex. Oh, you have a problem with third world migrants raping women and children? Oh, well, you're just jealous, but you're not the one getting that sweet, sweet pussy. He doesn't present any actual stats or some form of evidence to defend his position. No, he's just gonna pull out this bullshit hypothesis out of his ass and call everyone that disagrees with him incels that are just jealous of how much these third worlders are supposedly getting in Europe. Whatever. I wanted to point out just how dishonest this guy is, and how ideological he is as well. It really doesn't matter what evidence he is presented with, he's never gonna admit that he was wrong. And this is, from what I've seen, kinda how all progressives are. They don't wanna live in reality and see the differences between people based on where they come from. I mean, progressives don't even wanna see the differences between people's biology. They wanna believe that we're all the same and biology is just arbitrary, it doesn't matter. And they would rather just live in this fantasy land where calling out bad behaviors from minority groups is bad no matter what they're doing. And the solution to stop what they're doing is by giving them money and not putting them in jail, not putting them in prison, because that would just be immoral. Don't punish criminals, let them be free to continue performing more and more crimes. And it's because of people like this that European citizens and American citizens have had to suffer. And still suffer to this day.